On July 5, 1816, 146 people were abandoned on a makeshift raft after the French frigate Méduse ran aground off the coast of West Africa. With only 2 casks of water, both quickly lost in a struggle, severe dehydration set in immediately. Within 13 days, the crew collapsed into madness, mutiny, and cannibalism, leaving just 15 survivors. Contrast that rapid collapse with the 1942 shipwreck of the SS Benlamond. Seaman Poon Lim survived alone on a wooden raft for 133 days in the South Atlantic. Lim survived by engineering a canvas collection system to capture rainwater and extracting fluids from caught fish. His endurance was dictated entirely by his ability to maintain a steady freshwater supply. Modern maritime regulations, established by the IMO and SOLAS, formally recognize this biological limit. Emergency protocols dictate a minimum of 2 liters of freshwater per person per day for a 5-day evacuation. For a fully loaded lifeboat, that equates to hundreds of liters. But storing this volume of liquid introduces massive weight penalties, and when water drops below freezing, expanding ice violently ruptures rigid storage containers. Because storing liquid water is logistically impossible in sub-zero temperatures, modern survival protocols dictate that crews must generate their own fresh water on demand, relying heavily on mechanical desalination. As the Arctic sea ice rapidly retreats, commercial shipping and offshore exploration are pushing much deeper into extreme northern latitudes. This satellite map tracks sea surface temperatures in the Arctic Ocean. Across vast areas, including major new shipping routes, the water temperature remains permanently below 5 degrees Celsius. To meet SOLAS water requirements here, operators rely on manual reverse osmosis pumps, like the standard Catadyne Survivor 35. But deploying these mechanical pumps in cold climates introduces a severe, non-linear degradation in performance. This degradation occurs at the intersection of 2 failing systems: the thermodynamic behavior of near-freezing seawater and the deteriorating ergonomics of a human operator in a crisis. Standard safety models assume room temperature efficiency. Applying those assumptions to Arctic conditions creates a lethal gap between a pump's certified capability and its actual real-world output. The Catadyne pump uses reverse osmosis. A lever drives a cylinder, sourcing seawater against a membrane that traps salt, letting clean water pass. An internal valve recirculates pressure for even flow, outputting a specified 4.5 liters of fresh water per hour. This chart tracks freshwater volume against source water temperature. The gray box is the manufacturer's expected yield. At 7.5 degrees, the pump falls out of specification. Near freezing, capacity drops by half compared to room temperature. A physical anomaly occurs as water cools between 7 and 3 degrees Celsius. Unlike most liquids, fresh water reaches its maximum density at approximately 4 degrees. This peak density increases the water's viscosity. At a molecular level, the water packs tightly together, requiring significantly more mechanical force to push through the microscopic pores of the membrane. The absolute physical failure point occurs when ambient air and water temperatures drop to negative 1.5 degrees Celsius. The device stops functioning entirely. At these sub-zero temperatures, supercooled ice particles physically clog the intake strainer and freeze inside the membrane housing, jamming the mechanism. The thermodynamic properties of 4-degree water prevent manual pumps from achieving certified safety yields, no matter how much force the operator applies. Laboratory thermodynamics only map the mechanical limits. To understand the deployment capability, researchers ran a 36-hour field test mimicking a chaotic evacuation. 5 participants were stationed inside a cramped Viking Norsafe lifeboat, tasked with generating their own drinking water using a single pump. Over the 36 hours, the group successfully met the 2-liter per day requirement, but their physical efficiency dropped sharply. These charts display individual production rates. Field operators averaged only 3.44 liters per hour, a 14% decrease. Timeline gaps reveal the reality. Optimal pressure requires steady rhythm, but operators frequently pause to shift positions or manage distractions. Lifeboats lack mounting brackets. To stabilize the device, operators pinned the pump under their thighs, preventing full extension of the lever to maximize pressure. Human fatigue and cramped architecture compound the existing thermodynamic limits, guaranteeing that field performance will always undercut baseline laboratory data. Reduced volume is only the first threat. The second is a degradation in water quality. This chart shows output salinity versus temperature. Notice the sharp spike pushing past 0.4 practical salinity units, between 1 and 4 degrees Celsius. In controlled lab tests, maximum salinity held at 0.19 psu. During the field test, the water measured between 0.35 and 0.69 psu. The fluid dynamics of the pump dictate that brief operator pauses cause internal pressure to drop. Without constant forward pressure, salt molecules rapidly diffuse backward across the semi-permeable membrane. To prevent drinking concentrated brine, the manufacturer's protocol explicitly requires discarding the water produced by the first 60 strokes after any period of inactivity. During the 36-hour simulation, participants read the instructions, yet entirely ignored this protocol. Laboratory analysis shows that the initial stagnant water inside an inactive pump reaches 1.34 psu, exceeding the World Health Organization's safe drinking limit of 1.0. In the crucial first hours of a real evacuation, operators are burdened by cognitive overload, prioritizing immediate survival tasks over complex multi-step pumping instructions. Manual reverse osmosis pumps are highly vulnerable to this user error, transforming brief moments of physical fatigue into a direct physiological hazard. Deploying a manual pump also introduces a severe spatial conflict within the lifeboat architecture. To reach the sea surface, an operator must route a 4.5-meter intake hose through the lifeboat's top hatch, leaving it wide open. In an actual Arctic storm, an open hatch exposes the interior to high winds, freezing spray, and sub-zero temperatures. Venting life-saving cabin heat and allowing wave ingress forces survivors to choose between generating drinking water and preventing hypothermia. While the pump itself is functional, its design is physically misaligned with the spatial and environmental constraints of the vessel it serves. Correcting this requires structural mechanical adaptations, starting with routing intake hoses through sealed subsurface hull access ports to preserve internal cabin heat. Inside the cabin, fixed mounting brackets must be installed so operators can fully extend the pump lever without relying on awkward body leverage. Factoring in a 50% thermodynamic penalty and a 14% human ergonomic penalty, the math dictates that a single manual pump cannot generate enough water to support a fully loaded 55-person lifeboat in cold climates. Survival equipment must be stress-tested against the chaotic, crowded realities of the field, not just the sterile conditions of a cold lab. Arctic maritime safety requires a shift from isolated equipment certification to holistic systems engineering. In extreme environments, a single point of failure is lethal, making redundant systems an absolute necessity.